What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Miranda, and today I'm so excited because we are officially halfway through the year, which is crazy because I feel like it just started. I'm going to be doing my mid-year reading check-in with you guys and sharing some of my favorite books, some of my least favorite books, and stuff like that. I will leave all the questions down below. I sort of picked from a few different videos that I watched. I watched Sarah Corrali's video, and then I watched Des Sidwell's video as well. So they're kind of a mixture of both of the questions from those two videos. So grab a drink, grab a snack, and let's talk about some books. It's so good. I want to start off by saying that reading is a very personal hobby. It's a very personal pastime. So just because somebody else reads more than 10 books a month does not make your reading any less valid. Everybody reads at a different pace, everybody reads differently, and everybody's goals are different. So don't feel discouraged by any videos you see on YouTube or on TikTok about people reading so many books and you think I'm not reading fast enough, because I have to check myself regularly because everybody's different, everybody has different lives. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. Also, any books I mention in any of my videos, please look up the trigger warnings before you purchase or read any of the books. I might forget to mention that when I'm speaking about these books, but always look up any trigger warnings before purchasing or reading any of the books that I talk about. On Goodreads is where I log every single one of my reads, my want to reads. I always have my Goodreads link down below if you want to add me and just like look at all the stuff that I have on there. So how many books have I read this year? At the beginning of the year, I challenged myself to read 40 books this year. I am at 28 books, which is 70% of my goal, which is so cool because I really didn't think I was gonna go to 40 books. Also because I feel like last year I was reading books just to like scratch it off of the list, and I was reading sort of books that didn't require any thinking, which is good sometimes, but another goal for me this year was to read books that to think more deeply and to look at things differently, no matter how many pages there were, because there were books that I wanted to read last year, but I shied away from them because they were over 500 pages and I didn't think they were worth wasting my time if I could have read 2 books in the time I read that one book. I wanted to read what I really wanted to read. Don't just read a book to scratch off a number on the list. I'm so happy that I challenged myself to do that because I have found so many good books that I loved this year. So like I said, I'm at 28 books for the year. I'm actually halfway done with the book that I'm reading right now, which is Iron Flame. Guys, why did I take so long to read? We'll talk about that later. Anyway, 28 books, but I am 70% done. I'm 8 books ahead of schedule, which is so cool. First question, best book or books that you have read in 2024. Guys, I couldn't pick only one book, but I did stick to one series. So I picked Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings, which is the first book in the series, and Daisy Hates the Great Undoing, which is the 4th book. Guys, I think about these books every single day. And it's so funny that I picked one Magnolia Parks book and one Daisy Hates book. They're just so good, so good. I'm literally a tortured poet at heart because I love a good heartbreak. I love a good I can't be with you, I love you but I can't be with you, right person, wrong time sort of thing. If I had to pick between these two, which one I like a little bit more, I'm gonna have to go with this one. I love Julian. I love Julian. He has my heart. He has my heart. I know Magnolia and BJ were written in the stars, but I would just have loved to see in a different universe where they could have ended up. But I'm so excited for her next book to come out because I cannot wait to read Julian's POV when he reunited with Magnolia. So these are the UK versions of these books, so I will input what the US versions look like just in case you want to buy them at Barnes and you can't find these covers. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. These are both 5-star reads for me, and I think about them every single day. Every single day. I think about Magnolia, BJ, and Julian. It's just the way that Jessa Hastings writes her characters on, if you look from just the outside sort of at a superficial level, but the more that you read her book and you really see what each individual character has like in their heart, and it's not just like, oh yeah, I love her. It's literally like gut-wrenching, vomit, throwing up, kicking and screaming type of love. Like, she just writes so beautifully. The love that these characters share is unreal. I'm reading a quote from Daisy Hates the Great Undoing. This is in Julian's POV. He says, "It makes me think of her in a way that's stupid, and I'd rather I didn't. Longing for a life I've never longed for till now. Barless windows, easy breaths, skies that break your heart. I look at it and all I can see is aimless walks down cobblestone streets in an old French village with nothing but her in my hands. And I hate that because it's not just a thought, it's a tease. Loving her is a tease." And now I'll read a quote from Magnolia Parks, the first book. She just writes, like, honestly, it's just so beautiful. I have never read a more beautifully written piece of work than something from Jessa Hastings. It's incredible. I'll read the infamous like beginning page. How many loves do you get in a lifetime? How many people do you get to call yours? There are all sorts of love in this world. Not all of them, but most of them are beautiful. Some are old, some noble, some brave. Others are dishonorable and weak and make you so by association. Some are a low whisper on a somber night. Some are maddening. Some you can't ignore. They slow burn inside of you. Never quite going out completely, but you're too scared to dare try to fan that flame. Some loves you pretend you don't feel, even when you can. Even when you know you do. Even if he's the first thing you think of in the morning. Even if he's like a match in a darkened room of your heart. Because loving something how you love him is a painful love that puts rocks in your pockets and melancholy in your eyeballs. And if time has taught you anything, it's that it doesn't matter. You'll love him forever anyway. Next question is the best sequel you have read so far this year. And this year I read the ACOTAR series. The second book in the ACOTAR series, which is A Court of Mist and Fury, was my favorite in the whole entire series by far. I just love the banter between Rhysand and Feyre in this book, especially when he's teaching her how to read and write. It's just so funny, the stuff that he makes her read and write, and just the way that they talk to each other and mess around with each other, and just to see that everything that he put her through, not in like a painful way, but everything that he had her do is because of something. Like, he's always one step ahead and he's just so smart and charming, and I just love this book. And I love that she grows from something that everyone sort of looked at her as, which was like a frail little human, to literally so powerful, so wise, so cunning. I loved it. Like, she really got her feet on the ground and like ran in this book. I will say, if you are thinking about reading the ACOTAR series, or you currently are trying to read the first book, stick with it. The first book, A Court of Thorns and Roses, it is not the easiest first book to read just because it is a high fantasy series, and the first book in a fantasy series is always the hardest to get through because there's so much world building, like so much world building that you're kind of like, what? It's a lot of information to retain, but if you can get through that book, you're going to be like so smitten, and just you're gonna fall in love with the series, and it's gonna be so easy to read after you get like your mind sort of in their high fantasy world. But by far the best sequel that I read this year is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. Yeah, I kind of just miss being in Feyre and Rhysand's head, because obviously the last book that we got was not in their POV, it was in Cassian and Nessa's POV. But yeah, they're on to bigger and better things, I suppose. Next question is a new release that you haven't read but you want to read, and I just picked this up at the store. It still has that ugly Target sticker on it, and this is a novel love story by Ashley Postone. I don't know how to say her last name. She is the author of The 7-Year Slip. I love this cover. It's like a soft matte cover, and the colors are just so beautiful. It reminds me of Everything I Know About Love by Dolly. I'm not good with last names. If I'm not mistaken, basically the female main character in this book basically gets stuck in her favorite romance series, and that's what this book is about. So I'm so excited to read this book, and it's not really that long. It's only 360 pages, but definitely going to be picking this book up and reading it after I'm done with the series that I'm currently reading, because I'm in the middle of a series right now. But The next is the biggest surprise, the book that surprised me the most when reading it, and hands down it has to be This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. So I read this book while on vacation, like at a beach in Destin, Florida. This author writes this beautifully realistic picture of Prince Edward Island in Canada. So Carly Fortune, the author of this book, is from Canada, so all her books are based like in Canada. So this one is based in Prince Edward Island, and just the way that she writes the scenery, that she describes this island and the people that live there in this community and this sort of like found family community on this island, is so beautiful. And I literally felt like I was there the entire time that I was reading this book. I read it in like a day and a half or 2 days. It was so good, so addictive. I didn't want it to end, but I also could not put it down. So the female main character in this book, Lucy, has a best friend, Bridget, who she met after college, and they instantly just hit it off. They became basically like found sisters with each other. And Bridget, the best friend, is from Prince Edward Island, and one summer Bridget says, come back to the island with me, meet my family, etc, etc. So Lucy gets there, Bridget's plane got delayed and she can't make it till the next day. So our main character is in Prince Edward Island. She goes to this bar just to kill time. She meets this bartender, instantly is smitten with him, and she kind of just wants to blow off steam, so she hooks up with him. She goes back to his house, hooks up with him. The next day he's like, you know what, let me take you to the airport to pick up your friend, and like let's exchange numbers, like where are you guys gonna stay, blah blah blah. So she reads off the address of her best friend's house, and he's like, wait, are you joking? And she's like, what? And he's like, that's my address. What do you mean you're staying here? Is the friend that we're picking up from the airport Bridget? And she's like, yeah. He's like, that's my sister. So she unknowingly slept with her best friend's little brother, but her best friend had told her, there's only 3 rules when you come home to meet my family, and one of the rules is don't fall in love with my brother. And that's what happened. So it just goes on this 5-year journey between Lucy and Felix, aka Wolf, which is a little brother, up until when Bridget is going to get married in a week before her wedding. She calls Lucy and Wolf back to the island and just says that she wants to spend time with them before the wedding. I love this book for the romance aspect of it, but I especially love this book for the found family aspect and for the female friendship aspect of it, because the connection between Lucy and Bridget is just something that was so beautifully written. Like, it was just so amazing how connected they were and how like aware they were of their best friend. No matter what, they were always just thinking about their best friend. Even before Lucy was thinking about Wolf, she was thinking about Bridget, and it was just so amazing. And I love this book. This was like my most shocking, because I was just so surprised by it, because I just thought it was going to be another summer romance book, but I really loved it. And what put it over the top was the female friendship and the found family, and just how beautifully the setting was written by this author. I felt like I was there. I had to try oysters on my vacation because of this book, and every time I think of oysters, I'm gonna think about this book. So this was a 5-star read for me, and it was so surprising, but I absolutely adored this book. Next is my most disappointing read, and I had heard really good things about this book, and it was actually my book club's pick for one of the past months, but I rated it a 2 out of 5 stars. I could not connect with these characters. I barely got through it. I had to listen to the audiobook, and I just didn't really think about the book. I wasn't thinking about this book at all. I don't think about these characters. I don't think about this book, which is so crazy because I've read other books by this author and I love this author's books, but I just could not get myself to like this book. And the only reason why I didn't DNF it is because it was for book club. So talking about Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood, this book did not put me off on Ali Hazelwood. I would definitely still pick up other books by Ali Hazelwood, but I just didn't like this book. I didn't like these characters, didn't connect with them at all. I don't think about them at all, and it was my least favorite read of this entire year. I rated this a 2 out of 5 stars, but I think I was being a little nice. Another book that really disappointed me, because I started off with very high hopes for this book. I really liked the beginning, but once it got to the middle, it was so slow, so dragged out. I do think about this book every once in a while, but just because I'm kind of confused as to how it went from like potentially being like a 4 out of 5 stars to being a 1. I think I rated this a 1 on Goodreads. It is I Fell in Love with Hope by Loncali. I think this book is very well written and it's very like poetically written, but to a point where it kind of drug out. Ow, I hit myself. And if it was maybe like 100-page shorter, it would have been done so much better than it did in my mind. The beginning started out so good, but once it got to like the 150-page mark, it kind of just slowed down. There was nothing really happening. It was just like over-explaining things. And it did get better towards the end, but I feel like in the middle of this book, it kind of just lost the plot. It was so way off plot. But basically, this is about a group of terminally ill patients, and it's set in a hospital. Each one of them has something different that's wrong with them. It's found family. It's very triggering, so read up on the trigger warnings. Yeah, this was a really disappointing book for me. Again, if 100 pages were cut out in the middle of this book, it potentially could have been a 4 out of 5 stars. I think it was just drug out a little too long. It was over explaining things, using big words for no reason, and yeah, so another disappointing read from this year. Again, guys, I'm sorry if the angle keeps changing, but my camera keeps dying. So that's great. Anyway, next question is my favorite book boyfriend of this year. I have 3. I'm gonna do 3 and I'm not gonna rank them because it's not fair, but my 3, also my nails. Julian Hates from the Magnolia Parks Daisy Hate series. Resand from the Akatar series. This next one shouldn't be in here just because he actually missed the cutoff date for the middle of the year. I read it after July started, so technically in the second half of the year, but I have to give him a shout out because, oh my gosh, I don't know why it took me so long to read the series that he's in, but it is Zayden. I love him. He's just like iconic. Julian Hates, Resand, and Zayden. Book boyfriends. What books do I want to read by the end of this year? So I definitely want to finish the Addicted series from Krista and Becca Ritchie. I don't think I read this first book, Addicted to You, in 2024. I think I read it last year in 2023. But this was like the first sort of character-driven book that I had ever read. I remember after I read this book, I literally was staring at the wall because this is such a heavy book. I was staring at the wall. Like, what did I just read? Like, this was crazy. And I had so many mixed opinions on this book right after I finished reading it. I have also learned this year to give myself a little bit of time after I finish reading a book because I either tend to love it and say that it's the best book that I've ever read, or I'm confused about it, so I say it's the worst book I've ever read. Now I give myself a couple of days, sometimes even a week, to look back and then put my rating in on Goodreads. After reading the Magnolia Park series, which is very character driven, there's not really a lot of plot, especially in the Magnolia and BJ storyline. I really want to go back and finish the Addicted Calloway Sisters series. Did pick up the second book when I was on vacation, which is over here. I'm not going to shoot for the stars and say I'm going to finish the series because there's a lot of books in the Addicted Calloway Sisters series, but I do want to continue the series. So that's one of the books that I want to read this year. Another one of the books that I want to read this year is Never by Jessa Hastings. This is the same author that wrote Magnolia Parks. It also has the big ugly Target sticker on it. Like, why do you do it, Target? Why do you do this? Why? This is a retelling of Peter Pan and Wendy's love story, but it's through the eyes and through the magical hands of Jessa Hastings, and I cannot wait to read this book. For some reason, I have like this pull to Peter Pan. It's not like I grew up loving the movie, but I just love Peter Pan and Wendy, and like the thought of retelling their story as a love story, especially by Jessa Hastings, I need it. I have a little Peter Pan. Where is he? Oh, he's up here. Very tiny little Peter Pan. Forgive you, Peter, my lost fearless leader. Okay, so it's Wendy's granddaughter. Her name is Daphne. It says, growing up, Daphne always knew Peter Pan would come for her the way he'd come for her mother and her grandmother Wendy before that. The darling girls. Their stories are all the same. The forever young boy at their window after their 13th birthday and the shimmering magical land behind a star. When Peter doesn't show for Daphne when she's 17, inexplicably full grown and with no excuse for his tardiness, Daphne doesn't know what to think. Still, she has always been told that Peter Pan is her destiny. It's beyond choice to take his hand and leap into the stars no matter what comes next. Ooh, but in Neverland, Peter's true colors begin to show. One moment he's making Daphne's heart flutter, and the next he's forgotten her entirely. So when Daphne stumbles in the path of Jameson Hook, the pirate son of Peter's nemesis, she lets herself get swept up in his vulgar charm despite the warning signs. Both boys are trouble and both have dangerous secrets about this strange fantasy land that they call home, and if she chooses her heart to either one, Daphne might just lose herself. Are you kidding me? I cannot wait to read this book. So that is it for my mid-year reading check-in. I'll leave all the questions that I answered down below if you guys want to recreate this video. Tag me. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, everything that you do, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys. Hey. Oh, now I have to reshelf all these books.